Good afternoon, everyone. We're just giving a few, we'll just go with a 2-minute wait until everybody joins us. So I'm watching. I hope you all have a nice coffee or a cup of tea next to you, feeling relaxed, I hope. For those that are in UAE, we surely had a very interesting day, quite active, but this too shall pass. Okay, one more minute. Lovely to see our HSMAI Middle East and Africa board members. Thank you very much for joining us today. And some names that were with us 2 weeks ago during the first session that we ran. So a big welcome. Okay, I think we can start and then the others can join us shortly. So a good afternoon, everyone, and it's really a pleasure to welcome you once again and to see that this community does continue to show up, connect, and support each other during these times that are quite honestly are testing all of us in different ways. So wonderful to see that our audience today is joining us from 23 cities. It's actually quite a diverse audience all over the GCC countries and Egypt. And this time, we're also delighted to welcome industry colleagues from Europe, India, and South Africa. So a big welcome to those that are joining us from outside of this region. Following our recent session 2 weeks ago with Mark, today's conversation feels like a natural and important continuation. At HSMAI, we know that while we cannot control the events that are happening around us, we can't influence it in any way, but we can absolutely control how we respond and how we support each other and our community. And this is exactly why you are here today. We are not bringing the industry together around strategy, performance, and commercial growth like we usually do. But today it's all about you. We wanted to create spaces where we can pause, reset, and remind ourselves that we are the engine behind our industry. And if we are not well, nothing else can truly function. Hospitality by nature is high performance environment. It demands energy, emotional resilience, constant decision making, and the ability to stay composed under pressure. And we're surely all pressurized. And that is exactly why we love this industry, why we stay despite the many challenges that we have gone through. What will get highlighted in today's session is simple. Burnout, stress, and fatigue are not uncommon. They are very real. Recognizing that your health, both physical and mental, is not separate from your performance, but the foundation of it. And I will pause over here and ask an honest question. Who went to the gym today? There is a poll going to run in the chat. So if we can have a quick poll of answers of who went to the gym this morning, or did some walking, or walked a dog, or did any kind of movement this morning. So can we have everybody's input? Jean, are we able to see it?
Yes, once we receive all the input.
Okay. Quick yes or no? Okay. We're fine with whatever answers we got. So what did we get, Jean, as replies? So it's a 50-50 mix, really. Yes, no. Okay. Let's see if we can change that today. So
Mhm.
We are therefore delighted to welcome and host this session once again in collaboration with our partners in Glion and Summit Education, and to have with us Sophie Plato. Sophie's work is incredibly relevant to all of us today, focusing on how stress, workload, and modern working patterns shape not only how we feel, but how we think, perform, and lead. Her approach is surely practical and applies to real life, centered around what she calls micro resets, small, consistent actions that can help us regain clarity, energy, and focus without overwhelming changes. Before I leave the floor to Sophie and become the voice of God, I want to add
Mhm.
one thing. As a community, we remain positive, we remain confident. We have seen our industry and our region go through these challenges before, and we have always come back stronger, more connected, and more resilient. This too shall pass, I promise you. We hope sooner rather than later, even though we never know what's the end date to it. So until then, let us stay steady, supporting each other where we can, and invest in what truly matters ourselves, our teams, and our ability to lead with clarity and calm. Thank you once again for being here, for making the time, and for prioritizing something that often gets overlooked, yet absolutely essential our health. Sophie, over to you, and thank you very much for joining us. So I will now mute myself.
Thank you, Mona. It's a real pleasure, a real honor to be here, actually. And I can't believe that you're all dialed in from 23 countries around the world. So, welcome, everybody. And like Mona says, this too shall pass. And I really do hope it's sooner rather than later for all of you who are living in intense, demanding, worrying times right now. I'm thinking of you all, and I really hope that this passes very, very soon indeed. Um, I'm sure there's many of you that have dialed in today who are feeling a little tired, a bit wonky. 50% of you have moved your bodies already, 50% haven't. By the end of this session, it will be 100%. Take what you need, leave what doesn't serve you. I'm going to give you lots of practical support and a few ideas that will hopefully help you leave this session feeling a little bit better, a little more sort of reset than when you started. Um, as you all know, this is the performance advantage, and we are looking at why health is your most underrated asset. And we're going to look at these little practical, small, intelligent sort of tweaks that you can make to your current lives to bring back that focus, that energy, just a spark back to your teams whilst you're under pressure. And also, we always say, and as Mona just said a moment ago, it really does start with ourselves. If we can take little steps to really take charge of ourselves, then it has this ripple effect out into our community, our families, our workspace. And that's what reset is all about. It's not about big overhauls. It's about the micro moments that make incrementally make an enormous difference. We're going to look at stress and workload, the impact that it has on performance. And I'm going to give you some simple reset tools and methods to help you just sustain your energy throughout normal ebb and flow of working life, family life, desk-bound life. But also, in particularly hard times, I think it's really important that we think, well, what can we do for ourselves on a daily basis, little micro moments throughout the day. And Mona gave me a very generous introduction. Thank you, Mona. My name is Sophie. I'm Sophie Plato, and I'm one of the creators of Reset. Um, I help people get unstuck, really. I work with people in very real situations, very real lives, real challenges. And I'm trying to inspire and support people to have micro movement practices that really help minds and bodies in all working environments. So I teach within organizations, within schools. And I want to reassure you all, before you all panic, that I'm not here to ask you to just make some massive overhaul on your life. We don't do waking up at 5 a.m. I know everybody already has a very full plate. But what I do really want you to think about today is seeing your physical and your mental health as your absolute greatest asset and something that we should be investing in every day, multiple times a day. As Mona just, said, you're all very familiar with words such as burnout, stress, chronic fatigue. The industry that you work in, it's high performance, right? You guys are elite athletes in this industry. And with that comes enormous demands. So yes, you already know how to work incredibly hard. And what we're going to look at today is how we can manage working hard. Because the costs of that relentless high performance are very real, okay? You're constantly emotionally regulating. Your physical stamina is being drawn down on all the time. That really intense cognitive focus that's needed. It's beautiful, but it's very, very draining. And you are all paid to be on and of service. And we think of it as something that we're kind of mind muscling our way through, but actually our bodies, our physical bodies are very much responsible and quietly driving how we deliver on a daily basis. So that's what my focus of today is. It's to really sort of let it land that your health is your greatest professional asset, okay? That mind-body connection is very real. I'm sure you've all heard of the saying, a healthy body is a healthy mind. It really is. So we need to think of it as an asset so we can think clearly, we can focus, we can make decisions. Your brain is absolutely not separate to your body. Okay. I work with a lot of people that come to me and they really do just see this body as a vessel to take their brain from bed to their desk, back to the sofa or to their car or to a restaurant. They don't actually see this body as their greatest investment and their home for life. Okay. So that's the angle that I'm going to approach today at. And that's what I do for a living. I help people really understand that connection. And I help people understand that if we look after our physical health, we can really help maintain that calm in our psychological health. Okay. And especially during these challenging times in the UAE right now, we really need to dial into our bodies to find some peace and some calm in our minds and to really help us take charge and control what we can control. And I'm going to really try and keep everything very simple, okay? Health often feels confusing because it really isn't just one thing. And there's a tsunami, right, of information out there on our phones, social media. There's constantly new news about what we should be doing to stay healthy. But I've worked in this industry for many years now and worked with a lot of people in high stress situations, rehabilitation, prehab, people with nervous system pain problems. And actually, when we strip it all back down, sometimes it's the simplest things that can really dictate our capacity and also really help us live a far more healthy and intentional life. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to strip out the noise, focus on how we can keep things simple and how we can avoid that call of burnout. And we want to look at recovery as something that we do simultaneously to working hard. Okay, finding this flow of work and recover, integrating these little habits and slight lifestyle changes so that we can maintain our own capacity to work and not wait until we have to find that big fat emergency button. Okay, the old way, the way that we're trying to avoid working is that sort of relentless push, cognitive push, 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 and then sort of try and recover once the damage is done. What we really want to do is find ways of resetting ourselves throughout the working day so we don't feel so depleted and drawn upon. And so we don't need to look for that big fat emergency button. And this is another way of looking at it. It's just sort of the flow of a working day, looking at what is within your control, what's out of your control, and finding these little intentional moments where you just land back into your body, into your breath, where you're aware of your posture, aware of your energy levels, and you can budget your own energy cognitively, physiologically, and you're looking to step away, to reset, to come back into that performance mode. So we're not just pushing through, we are taking the time to really create space within our system so we can operate in that sort of optimal zone. And that's what reset is all about. It's really about learning to recover whilst you work, not once you're burnt out. And I also want you to see these reset moments as part of your job. They're sort of upgrading your brain and your performance throughout the day. Okay, so really don't think about it as stepping away from work. You are stepping away to be better at work. So again, these small intentional movements can really radically improve your clarity, your focus, creativity, and that word that we really all hear a lot these days because we all need it, I think, to be human at the moment, and that is resilience. Resetting yourself throughout the day enables you to be more resilient. It really does. And seeing this movement, giving yourself permission to just step away from that focus and just move your body a little. Again, it's the single best investment you can make in your long-term cognition. So we're using our body and moving our body to fuel our brain, okay? It is not a sacrifice. It is absolutely non-negotiable mind maintenance, okay? And when you look at this picture here, it's clearing that neurological fog that we get from just pushing through, lowering that baseline cortisol and the fight-flight response in our bodies, opening sparks for creativity, and just increasing your stress tolerance, okay? Increasing your systematic capacity. So really look at it as an investment for both your physical health, everyone around you, and your work. And I can't see you all, but we are going to start with a little bit of an analogy. And I think if you were all in an office, you might feel slightly awkward doing this, which means it's exactly what's needed. But as you're all home or working virtually, I'm hoping you can just take a moment to stand. If you can't stand, just sit and really ground your feet into the floor. Find a little length in your spine. And then just to make this sort of point of what we're about to do throughout the rest of this workshop, I just would really like you to hold your hand up in front of you and make a tightly clenched fist. Mona, I can see you. That's great. Okay, so we're going to squeeze that hand, really squeeze it. Nice. Okay. And then I just want you to look at that clenched fist that you've just made. And really, it isn't a bad approximation for how most of us are going through life. Sort of all tight, tense, shoulders up, nervous system in brace mode, trying to manage our jobs, our families, our relationships, what's going on in the world, things that we can't even control. Tense, really dysfunctional, actually, if you squeeze that fist really tight, and it becomes so uncomfortable and so dysfunctional that then when you start to try and open up that hand, it takes quite a while to get the blood flow back. You lose the nail marks in your hand. But that movement, right? That is what these micro resets are going to do to you throughout the day. Otherwise, we are just walking around like these clenched fists, right? And I really want you to hold on to this analogy throughout your working day. And I'm going to keep coming back to it in this presentation. But that tense hand doesn't become functional after time, okay? So now what we're going to do, we've unfurled our hand. We're now just going to unfurl our body and just spend a few moments finding our breath. finding some movement in our nervous system and in our spines. So please do all stand if you can. Feel free to kick your shoes off. Again, I'm just guiding you virtually, so please leave anything that doesn't feel right for your body. But to begin with, if you just bring your hands to one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly, you're welcome to close your eyes and just really find a deep inhale, ideally through your nose, breathing into your ribs, breathing right deeply into your belly, really sort of getting heavy in between your sit bones, your whole body swelling. And then a long, slow exhale through pursed lips. Nice. And then inhaling once more, breathing in through the nose. Think about making length in your spine as you're inhaling. So really lifting the crown of the head. Trying to breathe more into the body than you are breathing into your shoulders. Really let the whole body take up space. And then exhaling through pursed lips again. Just a couple more of these breaths. Try and let the shoulders just glide down away from the ears. Try and just unclench the jaw a little. Sit a little bit taller in the spine. Spread the toes if you've taken your shoes off. Just make some space in the soles of your feet. Let your belly rise and fall with the breath. And then you're welcome to take a second inhale. So you breathe in fully, hold it for a little moment, and then take another short, sharp exhale, inhale, and then a long, slow exhale. And maybe just take one more of those. Long, slow inhale. A little pause at the top. Another short inhale. And then a long, pursed lips, audible exhale. Lovely. And then just finding feet hip width apart. You can let your hands just come down by your side. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed or open them, whatever's comfortable for you. Let your right ear just go to your right shoulder. And just pull the left shoulder away on the other side a little. And then rolling chin to chest. All the way around. Nice neck and head circle. Slowly continuing with that breath. And then letting the left ear meet the left shoulder. Breathing in and then taking that circle in the opposite direction all the way around. Slowly, slowly, slowly. And then finding your way back to your center. So reaching the crown of the head up towards the sky. And then just lifting your shoulders up towards your ears and circling them around behind you. So just taking some shoulder circles. That might be enough for some of you. You're welcome to bring your hands into the movement. Make some big stirs with your elbows. You're welcome to take full arms. If you've got the space around you, just really open up through the chest for 3. Keep that breath going. Last 2. And last 1. Lovely. And then just landing the shoulders down away from the ears. Nice. Okay. Bringing your right hand to your right hip. And then your left hand's going to reach up towards the sky and then reaching over. So you're getting a side bend stretch through the spine, breathing into the ribs. And then coming back to center. Lovely. Same on the other side. Reach that right hand up, left hand on the hip. Up and over. And then back to the center. And then bringing that hand down by your side. And then stirring those shoulders again for 3 and 2. Lovely. And last 1. And then you're just going to look over your shoulders. So really land your feet. If you're sitting in a chair, keep your hips nice and still. If you're standing, really hold your feet steady on the floor. And then you're going to bring your hands, both of your hands to your hips. And then you're going to look over your right shoulder and then just rotate round through your upper spine. So you're just getting a little twist through your upper back. I imagine if you had a wet cloth running through your spine, you'd be sort of wringing it dry just from that kind of waist upwards. And then coming back to center. And then the same on the other side. And try and move with that exhale from the belly. Inhale back once more. Nice. If you want to take your arms out, you're welcome to do that too. Bringing through the spine, back through center, and then over to the other side. Lovely. And then rolling. Nice. And then just spreading those toes, coming back to that standing position. Soft knees, shoulders away from the ears. Reach the crown of the head up towards the sky. Come back to that breath just for a couple of moments. One hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Breathing in through the nose. And then a short, sharp second inhale. Long, slow exhale. One more of those. Inhale through the nose. Lengthen to the spine. Another short inhale. Long, slow exhale. And then just letting your hands come down by your sides, maybe giving the arms a little shake, the shoulders. Breathing into all that space that you've made. And that was us, right? A couple of moments of just unclenching that fist. Just moving the spine, getting the shoulders unstuck, the head really helps to just bring you back to this focus. Now, for you guys, it's the focus back on the presentation, okay? But just stepping away for a couple of minutes and then coming back gives you that capacity to focus and sort of dial in once more, okay? And that breath that the pattern there, that sort of second inhale, this is known as a physiological sigh. And the process of inhaling fully and then taking that short, sharp second inhale, it means that as you slowly exhale, you're tapping into that vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. So even if your mind's racing and things feel out of control and stressful and you're desperate for them to pass, you're physically calming your body, even if you can't quite calm your mind. And then that will have a really positive effect on your ability to just cope a little more. Okay. So that physiological sigh is a physical way of just calming your mind, even when you don't feel that you can think calmly. Really good little tool to have in the toolkit. And you can use it whilst you're moving, right? Like we just did. Perform together. Okay, so acceptance. Acceptance today means more than just acceptance about moving. It's acceptance of the situation that some of you are in. It's acceptance that things feel hard right now, and that normal routine does feel hard to uphold, but that the body is designed to move, okay? Accepting that if you're not moving your body, things will feel far more stressful in your body is a really good place to start, okay? So the body is designed to move. Ancestrally, it's a whole nother presentation, but we have to move our bodies to feel well as human beings, okay? Some days it's a walk. Some days it's a 7 a.m. gym session. Some days it's never going to be a gym session for some people. That's just not what they want to do. But some kind of movement, ideally a couple of times a day, little short movement sessions. But sometimes it might just be that it's only 5 minutes on a mat or 5 minutes of movement, okay? I tend to encourage people to move every day. And then I put an ish after it because we're humans. Life's hard. Life can get complicated. Sometimes we miss a day, but try not to miss two, okay? So if you don't make it to your morning gym session, don't beat yourself up. There are other things that you can do throughout the day to just add to that sort of energy, your battery, but try not to miss a second day because that's when it starts to build up. And as we talked earlier on, it doesn't have to be a gym session, just walking. Benefits. The human body is designed to walk. Our lives actually, that rhythmic, it's sort of like our lives depend on it. There's a whole book written about that. It's in itself. But the human system, every system, the lymphatic system, the cardiovascular system, your nervous system, your respiratory system, everything benefits from walking. It is like magic medicine. So if you can't do anything else but go for a walk, really do know that that really does count. And as I just said, it's on a par, right? It's sleeping, breathing, that rhythmic movement benefits our neurology, physical body, our longevity. So yeah, walk like your life depends on it. Even if you only go out for a couple of minutes, really try and walk at some point every day. And this rhythmic movement that walking brings about really benefits spine health, okay? And when you work sitting at a desk or standing in service, the spine really needs multiple holistic, sort of multi-dimensional movements. I really want you to see it as this linchpin for every message that travels between your brain and your body, okay? It's like your highway for information. And it is essential that we keep the spine moving, nimble, flexible. I'm sure if any of you, or most human beings, by the time they get to middle of age, have experienced some kind of backache, and it is utterly miserable, and it can make you feel incredibly down and really sort of stiff and old and like you're really not thriving. And there's 3 movements that the spine should be doing every day, multiple times a day. And they are flexion and extension, side bend, and twisting. Okay, here they are again. And we're going to just go through those movements now. And you can do all of these sitting or standing. So to begin with, if you're sitting, guys, stay sitting in your chair, and you're just going to reach one hand up and over, bring in a little breathing, make that breath really expansive as you inhale, long, slow as you exhale, reaching up and over. Okay, that side bend, your spine needs to do that every day. You can also stand up and side bend as we just did when we were using that unclenching of the fist analogy. Breathing in, moving, maybe inhaling into all that space that you're making in your rib cage and back to base. Okay. And then the twisting. So that's that rotation I spoke about. Imagining you've got like a wet tea towel running up the central pillar of your spine. And it's almost like you're wringing it out. I often think too, when you're reversing a car without a reverse cam, you're looking over your shoulder. That's the spinal rotation is a really important movement that we should perform multiple times a day. So if you're sitting in a chair, you're just looking over your shoulder. You can move with the exhale. It's a bit easier to squeeze and ask for a little bit more movement from the spine. And again, you can stand and do exactly the same. Hands on your hips, hands out to the side. You can slightly swish your way around, but that twisting, that spinal rotation is essential for spine health and to keep those lanes open in this highway that is our spine, right? And then you've got flexion and extension. So you can once again do this sitting in your chair. You're just lengthening out your spine, looking up, getting this lovely long line through your spine, breathing in, and then exhaling chin to chest, scoop the belly round the spine. So if any of you have done yoga before, it's that cat-cow yoga movement, like in these pictures here of this gentleman on his mat, in his office, in his suit. And you can do the same sitting. So opening up the heart, length into the spine, breathing, really try and use the breath and then scooping, making space in that curved spine. So side bend, rotation, flexion, and extension. And I do this every single morning. I have a rule that I sort of swing my legs out of bed before I even open my curtains. Takes 10 seconds. Quick side bend, quick rotation, flexion, extension, done. That's one in the bag before I've even drawn my curtains, okay? And throughout the day, the kettle's boiling, or if I'm just waiting for a moment, I always think, right, my spine, just unstick it. The freer your spine is, the kind of more nimble and creatively you'll be able to think. There really is that link between spine health and creative flow and that freedom of mind. And yes, glutes. These sit at the base of your powerhouse, okay? Everyone's got them. Not everyone can feel them activate because we sit on them a lot as humans and we just don't use them in the way where they are meant to be used, but they are the biggest muscle in your body, okay? Mona was talking earlier on about getting all these happy neurochemicals going in her mind from working out. Squeezing your glutes really starts that process going, okay? So I can't see you all, but learning how to do a good squat and then squatting multiple times a day, I promise you, your body will enormously benefit. And I'm at a standing desk right now, and you can just hold the desk and squat, right? Really important. Squeeze your bottom as you come up, slightly tuck your tailbone under, and then inhale to lower, exhale, squeeze and lift. You can also do it sitting in your chair. Let's go from sitting, plant your feet hip width apart, breathe in. Exhale, power up out of your chair. You can hold your desk if you need a little bit of support. You can inhale, just hover above your seat, and then exhale, power up again. Okay, so maybe even combining a couple of glute squats with a little bit of spine movement. You can squat, you can stand, you can lean over. Squat, stand, lean over the other way, and then bring that extension in, that flexion and extension and rotation. Just really play with it, but know that if you are firing up your glutes, you are firing up the body's natural ability to percolate all those incredible neurochemicals that make us feel so much better because we've moved our bodies. You know, resilience, the capacity to cope, just having a slightly more clear perspective on the world around us and the way that we are interacting with other people around us, because we are full of the happy chemicals and hormones in our minds and our bodies. So really do think of these glutes as like the base of your powerhouse and a really good way of getting a quick bit of movement in and a blast of like positivity, right? And that capacity to cope. Stick a ball between your knees. You can put one of those bands on if you want to pimp it up. You can hold a weight. Everybody will be somewhere slightly different on their health journey. But learning how to do a good squat really, really does help. And I feel like I've glazed. I've got a couple of other presentations where I delve really deeply into spine health and the complexity of spine health, mental health, and the human body. Also, pelvic floor health, glute health, women's health. There are so many sort of deeper dives that we could go into. This is really just glazing over the top of these little micro moments that you can use to reset your body, reset your mind. But if you do take one thing away from this session today, I really would love you to hold on to this modern work paradox, clenched fist image in your mind, and just think about the load that we're putting through our nervous system from either prolonged sitting or prolonged standing or prolonged worrying, prolonged nervous system activation, because there are lots of things that we are not in control of, okay? So that clenched fist, just remember that you need to unfurl. As a human, you need to bring that ability for your hand to work again, your body, your shoulders to be down away from your ears, your spine to be mobile and to move, hips, glutes, breath, just remember that we are human beings. We are biological systems. We can't run indefinitely without resetting ourselves. You know, that tension that you feel in your body, your mind, holding on to all this stress. It's that unclenched, that clenched fist. And over time, the body forgets how to untighten. So we need to just remember that these little micro moments, resetting the body throughout the working day, that loop that we looked at rather than the crash and burn, really hold that in your mind. And a little bit of spine movement and glute movement will get you through the day and through stressful times, help you find a little bit more capacity. Thank you, everybody. I can't quite see the time on my screen, but I think we're good.
Perfectly on time. We're
We did it.
perfectly on time. And I just wanted to see if there are any questions, any thoughts, any something you want to share, maybe a true story. I can share one. In 2019, I hit 50. And for a female, hitting 50 is a big number, right? So what do? I walk the desert from Abu Dhabi to Al Ain, 125 kilometers on foot. And I never realized that your glutes are the core of your walking. So for
Yeah.
3 months before the walk, all what we did is we did glutes training.
Mm-hmm.
And it was painful because I don't usually move a lot. I go to the gym when I have the time. And, in our industry, we never have time. And I thought, no, I'm not going to let the 50 or my lack of inflexible body control how I think. Okay, I have a dog, so I'm forced to walk 3 times a day, but these are small walks. So yeah, so I did it the full Monty. I trained those glutes with a lot of tears. I ended
Mm.
up stopping smoking because you can't really walk 125 kilometers, 5 days of walking nonstop, and then smoke. So stopped that, did the walk, and then walking just changed my life. Like
Uh,
literally changed my life entirely. Yeah, you don't want to know how stressful I feel from the inside, but I surely don't feel it from the outside. So, yeah, that's my true story. Small thing to share.
Thank you for sharing that, Mona. And I've heard so many
Thank you,
stories like
Sophie.
that.
I'm sure our audience have plenty of stories to share. I see Amal Harib there, and she is one of our board members as well. She's an active mover, that's for
Mhm.
sure. So she would have plenty of stories to share. So thank you very much, Sophie. Thank you for everyone for joining us. We will send you a small feedback form because I said it last time and I will say it again. I genuinely hope I don't see you in 2 weeks' time, at least not for this, but for our back to our community events, community activities, educational programs. But we never know what tomorrow is going to bring us. So please do let me know what else you would like us to organize for our community. Whatever it is, we can plan it. If it is of benefit to you, benefit to your team, benefit to your um, um, environment, just share it with us and we will share our feedback forms post this session. And with that said, Riman, thank you very much as always for being an amazing partner. And Sophie, thank you for being with us today.
Thank
And
you for
I
having
say
me.
I say goodbye to everyone and have a lovely rest of the day. I will now take my dog for a walk.
Do that. Stay safe and keep moving, everybody. Thank you,
Yes.
Mona.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Stay. Okay, we still have some people exiting. Yeah, we can stop sharing, I guess, now. We still have some people with us. I was trying to find